When it concerns a drug cartel, nothing more notorious, savage, or deadly comes to mind than Medellin and its flamboyant but equally ruthless leader, Pablo Escobar. There was no mistaking the fact that Medellin called the shots in the 90s, and even the cops in Colombia were scared of it. Pablo Escobar ruled the Medellin cartel for a good many years till the law finally caught up with him. It was a bloody day in 1993 when Escobar was fatally injured in a shootout with trained police and the DEA. What no one knew was that riding piggyback on the success of Medellin, another cartel was slowly but surely climbing up the notorious ladder of infamy. With the fall of Escobar, the dreaded Cali Cartel finally emerged out of the shadows to become a reckoning force in the drug trade that rocked and fleeced the U.S. The origins of the Cali Cartel. The Cali Cartel originated in the city of Cali, founded by brothers Gilberto Rodriguez Orihuela and Miguel Rodriguez Orihuela and Jose Santa Cruz Londoño. All three were henchmen of Escobar in the 80s who felt they needed to branch off on their own. Their exploits are equally notorious and savage as Escobar's modus operandi of plata u plomo, or bribe or bullets. For the next 20 years, the Cali Cartel grew to become a formidable force in the drug-running industry. It pumped thousands of tons of cocaine into the United States and laundered billions of dollars in profits. The cartel was oozing money, bribing officials left, right, and center. It was responsible for fueling corruption, hundreds of murders, mayhem, and assassinations. It flooded the world with cocaine. The Cali Cartel took over from where Escobar signed off. It controlled 70% of the worldwide cocaine and illegal substance market. It flooded towns, cities, and countries with the dangerous white powder that was then called the champagne of drugs. The Cali Cartel operated methodically but with an iron fist. Bosses Miguel, Gilberto, and Jose were as bad as Escobar. They were cold-blooded in their dealings with enemies and those who opposed them. When they weren't killing off someone, it was all about terrorist strategies, intimidation, and bribery, destabilizing Colombia and its fragile economy. If there is one positive fact about the Cali Cartel, if you could call it that, was the well-planned organization and administration they brought to the illegal drug trade. They were masters of planning and planned their operations perfectly. It would take 20 long years to bring down the cartel, but even then, too, the damage and gory carpet of blood they left in their wake would impact the country long after their end. Unlike the Medellin and the Sinaloa cartel run by El Chapo, it needed a huge global effort to bring down the Cali Cartel. Nothing tells the story of the Cali Cartel better than the third episode of Narcos, the series now on Netflix. It depicted a fearsome and deadlier successor to Escobar that turned into an empire. The Cali Bosses lived an active social life. The Cali Cartel goes back 2 decades in the late 80s when the Rodriguez Orihuela brothers and Santa Cruz were working for Escobar. Unlike other notorious drug lords who got into the trade when young and poor, these three were well off and lived a good social life. Sensing that Escobar was slipping and his time was up, the trio began working on their own. Like every drug lord worth his salt, it was extortion and kidnapping that the brothers carried out the most. They began trafficking marijuana, but soon found it was not lucrative and the process was expensive and brought little profit. They turned to cocaine and went on to make it a profitable, well-oiled business. They even recruited a fourth member, Elmer Herrera, a sadistic torturer, to New York City to establish a distribution center. Herrera was extremely successful in his dealings in the U.S. for one huge reason, and that was the DEA, who didn't give much importance to cocaine. The DEA felt heroin needed more attention. They indulged in kidnapping before turning to cocaine. Just before they could do cocaine, the group ran a ring of kidnappers known as Las Quemas. Las Quemas were involved in a high-profile kidnapping that shook their world. They had kidnapped a Swiss diplomat and a Swiss student demanding $700,000 in ransom. They actually got it, and many believe it is this money that funded the Cali Cartel. While acts of violence brought them infamy, Herrera was living it up in New York City, increasing his contacts and business for the Cali Cartel. Back home, the cartel decided it needed to exert its dominance on the drug trade in Colombia. It went to war with its rivals, including Escobar's Medellin. On the social front, they kept a low profile and preferred gaining acceptance in Colombian society. They stopped Escobar's bribe or bullet method and preferred winning over those in authority through bribes. They weren't assassinating anyone, and that might have been playing smart because a dead official is no good. The social and cautious approach turned them into even more dangerous people than Escobar because they had the bigwigs of Colombia eating out of their hands. The DEA named them the Cali KGB after the brutal Russian spy agency. The Cali Cartel was more organized than Escobar's Medellin. They preferred seeing themselves as a business, complete with a board of directors led by brothers Gilberto and Miguel Rodriguez Orihuela and accompanied by Jose Chepe Santa Cruz Londoño and Helmer Pacho Herrera. By the mid-90s, just years after the Medellin cartel collapsed, the Cali Cartel was handling 70% of the lucrative American cocaine trade. The cartel was handling as much as 90% of all the coke in Europe. Back in Colombia, phone operators, cabbies, cops, and politicians, and a lot more were secretly working for the gang. They employed death squads to murder prostitutes, gays, and homeless children on their turf. The Cali were making $23.5 billion a year. By the mid-1990s, the Cali Cartel's international drug trafficking empire was a $7 billion a year criminal enterprise. Pablo Escobar may have had an estimated known net worth of $30 billion by the early 1990s. But according to reports, the Cali Cartel made $22,500 every 30 seconds. That's $23.5 billion a year. Pablo Escobar was small fry compared to what the Cali were making. They made him look like an elderly Santa Claus. The Cali Cartel became the most successful drug cartel in South American history, now controlling 90% of the world's cocaine. It is believed that the cartel were directly responsible for the popularity of the drug in Europe, where they introduced it to world capitals and controlled almost 100% of the flow. Why were they so successful? It is also widely believed that the U.S. government was a major factor in the Cali Cartel's success, with the DEA not interested in cocaine but heroin, claiming that cocaine was not physically addictive or result in serious consequences like crimes and medical emergencies. This gave the Cali a free run of the United States. However, the DEA was soon waking up to the inherent dangers of cocaine and how it was usurping heroin as the new deadly drug in the world. The Cali Cartel developed a unique structure called 400 Cartel, which quickly went on to oversee all shipments and distributions of narcotics across the United States. It was well organized and much more powerful in infrastructure and operations than the Medellin and Sinaloa cartels put together. The Cali Cartel developed the most advanced money laundering scheme in history. To hide their exponentially growing wealth from the eyes of the law, the Cali Cartel began to invest heavily in a complex web of legitimate business ventures and phony front companies. They became pros in money laundering to make them appear legitimate businessmen. Head honcho Gilberto Rodriguez Oruela became chairman of their board of companies. The legal front allowed cartel members to deposit cash into bank accounts with no questions asked. Even members in the high command were able to open huge overdrafts and take out massive loans with no need of repayment. Gilberto Oruela even set up the first Inter-Americas Bank, a multinational investment operation based in Panama. It became the hub for a whole host of international money laundering schemes which cleaned up the cartel's blood-soaked money. Ruthlessness and brutality behind the scenes. But while the Cali Cartel showed up as a respectable business conglomerate, behind the scenes they became a savage and ruthless group of bloodthirsty people in the Medellin. The cartel formed multiple gangs dubbed Grupos de Limpieza Social, or social cleansing groups. For reasons beyond logic, the cartel suddenly began an evangelical mission of purging Medellin society of prostitutes, street children, petty thieves, homosexuals, and the homeless. When members of these murderous cells struck down a victim, they would leave a sign on their mutilated body that read, Cali Limpia, Cali Linda, Clean Cali or Beautiful Cali. They became a nightmare, the boogeyman for all who were less fortunate. They dumped bodies of victims into the Cuaca River that soon earned the nickname the River of Death. It was so bad that the municipality of Marsella in Risaralda became bankrupted simply by the cost of recovering them. The fall of the Cali Cartel. Like all drug cartels, none ultimately would last, and the Cali Cartel was no different. They had reached the pinnacle of their existence, but their fame soon brought them down. With the end of Escobar, the DEA, along with authorities in Colombia, soon turned their sights onto the Cali. Investigating the Cali, the DEA were amazed at how the cartel were experts in counterintelligence. After a daring raid of the Cali Cartel offices in 1995, the DEA discovered that the organization had been monitoring all phone calls made in and out of Bogota and the town of Cali. They were even tapping the U.S. Embassy and the Ministry of Defense. They managed this by installing a hacking software controlled through a specially modified laptop and acquired through Israeli intelligence services. Besides the DEA, the Cali Cartel began engaging in all-out war with a new enemy, armed revolutionary groups in Colombia. Groups like the Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia even kidnapped Cristina Santa Cruz, the daughter of cartel leader José Santa Cruz Londoño, for a ransom of $10 million. The cartel replied by kidnapping 20 members of the Colombian Communist Party, Patriotic Union, the United Workers Union, and the sister of Pablo Catatumbo, a representative of the Simon Bolivar Guerrilla Coordinating Board. After negotiations, Cristina was freed. Clampdown by the DEA. The DEA-assisted Colombian authorities became a thorn in the Cali Cartel. Raids upon raids were conducted on consignments recovering millions of dollars worth of cocaine. In 1991 alone, law enforcement agencies seized 67 tons of Cali cocaine. In total, the U.S. Customs Service alone had spent 91,855 case hours and 13 years in investigations against the Cali Cartel, seizing 50 tons of cocaine and $15 million in assets. The DEA, aided by U.S. Customs, pressed the Coast Guard and maritime ships into service as part of Operation Cornerstone that lasted 14 years. By July 1995, 6 of 7 heads of the Cali Cartel were arrested, with Gilberto being caught by surprise in his home. The rest surrendered. Jose Santa Cruz Londoño was captured in a restaurant, and a month later, Miguel Rodriguez was apprehended during a raid. The Rodriguez brothers were extradited to the U.S. in 2006 and were made to forfeit $2.1 billion in assets, along with their guilty plea. They were sentenced to 30 years in prison. Elmer Herrera surrendered to the Colombian authorities in 1996, but 2 years later was murdered in prison. Jose Santa Cruz Chepe died in a police shootout in 1996. Subsequently, the Colombia authorities began a combing operation seizing all ground assets of the Cali Cartel. The reign of terror of the Cali Cartel had come to an end. And there you have it, the rise and fall of the Cali Cartel. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos just like this one. Till next time.